If Roundspace did continue, what changes would people like to see in the new Roundspace?
Less dust.
More storage space.
Roundspace, one of Australia's first artist collectives, existed for 7 years at a warehouse in central Adelaide, South Australia. In May 1984, the building was taken over by new owners. This documentary was taped on the day the last Roundspace group exhibition took place on those premises. I'm Annette Bazor, I'm a painter.
And I'm Stanley Rover, I'm a painter also.
Stanley and I were two of the original members when Roundspace was first formed. Would you like to talk a bit about that?
Yes, just briefly, without making a too profound a history of it. The idea was first thought of by Melissa Dunstan and Andrew Canning when we were at the School of Art in 1977. That was the year we should have graduated, and in preparation for this graduation, Andrew and Melissa got 8 more people together, and the idea was to form a group in full agreement with the idea of having a communal studio. And as early as October 1977 we had our constitution formulated and published, and Andrew and Melissa had found this building here in 2123 Roper Street.
Does anybody have any further information on the owner in this building? Like, what was that sign out there that said, can anybody afford $18 a week?
I put that up when we were sort of looking at places earlier on to give an idea. Plus he wanted to have an idea of what we could afford if he was going to look for us. And I wanted to know what people could afford anyway, later.
Oh, I see. But is it really definite? Like, you know how he asked Heather on the phone, what's the maximum you can afford to pay? Was he referring to this building? I mean, it was never really clarified whether...
No, it was referring to this.
Actually, it was, that point was clarified. They're quite unwilling to have us stay on these premises, and they want to make sure that we don't stay by making the rent so high that it will be beyond our reach. However, if we could reach up to their rental ceiling, we could stay here.
Oh, I
so
see.
it's really, I mean, they're just really...
Just landlords.
But under the Companies Act we had to have a constitution, and it was a very simple one, and I just to quote one or two things about it. The purpose of the contract is to... this is the contract, excuse me. Yes, the constitution's here. The office of Roundspace shall be in Adelaide at such place as the Incorporated Association shall from time to time determine. Yes. The object of the Incorporated Association shall be to provide studio space for art students and graduates of painting, sculpture and experimental art, and to assist especially those students graduating from art school and in immediate need of such space, facilities and companionship in these subjects.
I'm Heather Elyard, and I work here at Roundspace, and I've been here for 4 years, since the 1980 festivals.
And your position here?
Well, aside from being a member of Roundspace, I'm also euphemistically and otherwise the secretary. Whenever letters have to be sent, I'm the one who tends to do the sending of them.
What's it been like for you to actually work here?
Mostly wonderful, actually. Although I think working in any cooperative is a mixed blessing, and the mixture part of it comes from the lack of privacy and the lack of the kind of isolation that allows space for one's intensity. When you're working in a group, particularly a group of very sensitive people, in order to when you're communicating, you almost de-escalate that intensity, and sometimes that intensity is really important to keep alive, even though it hurts, as long as you can. And those are really the only negative aspects of working collectively. Otherwise, I find the concept of sharing materials, sharing space, and sharing technological know-how is absolutely splendid.
Roundspace doesn't actually work with any strong, really basic philosophy that's shared by everybody. Is that a strong point for most people? I mean, like most other art organisations in Adelaide actually do have a philosophical base on which they work, like women's art movement.
I think it's good, it's unique like that. Good that we can maintain a group and still be individuals.
I think everyone essentially is concerned with just securing time and securing space to do their own thing, and just to get on with it. And I think if anything comes together as a group or as a collective, it's as a means of ensuring that we can get on and do things efficiently by ourselves. I don't think there's really strong group ideology.
Maybe this is the group ideology,
Yes, exactly.
maintaining
Yeah,
the
yeah.
individual of each one of us.
I think it is very much so, and I think that's part of the dynamics of the place. That's one of the reasons why it's really refreshing to be in here working, because I can look at your work and your work and your work and your work and see really dynamic things going on that are quite different from what I call the dynamic things that are going on with my work, and it's very interesting to do that, and I think it's interesting to people on the outside who come in too. I mean, the interstate people and the overseas people who come in and see a really rich diversity of work going on in here all the time.
It's the feedback too. I mean, you get a lot of feedback I get a lot of feedback from all of you, and you probably get the same from me, and people that come in, that just sort of wander up behind you, look over your shoulder and say, oh, that's an interesting thing you're doing there, and sort of it gives you a bit more purpose. I mean, if you're working away in the shed in your backyard, the only people you'd probably see is sort of, I suppose, your neighbours and whoever you share your house with, an occasional visitor. But here you're sort of...
That's right, the thing that wasn't mentioned before too, and that's how Roundspace serves as an information access centre for things. I mean we're continually getting mail of shows that are on and information sent to us, and we're known as an organisation, and so individuals that hear about things that are on share the information. I mean, that's really important.
I'm Chris Bryant, and I've been in Roundspace for the last 4 years or so, and I'm a painter.
And I'm Stephen Wood, and I've been at Roundspace for 5 years now. And I'm a painter, part-time sculptor.
So what's the actual space been like for you?
It gets a bit cramped at
Bit
times.
yes.
It's only because in our situation we work in a little less room than what the other people in the space do. For the size work that we're doing, it does get a bit cramped.
And I'm at a disadvantage. I use the big table, which is actually a community table, but I tend to use that more than any other member of the group, and so I have to often, it's very much annoying for me to have to take things off when somebody wants to do framing. I mean, that's their right to do that, but it's also, it's in my space sort of thing.
It all balances out in the long run.
Yeah, right.
So you haven't mentioned the phone yet.
The phone.
The telephone.
Well, it should
It'll
ring.
probably ring any moment now. We're working in that situation. We at least get to know what's happening around the place, because every time someone rings up for somebody else and they're not there, you write a message out. But some days you can spend half the day answering the phone.
Yeah, I think one big problem is that if we do move too far out of the city, it's going to be hard to maintain the gallery. I mean, it's hard enough to get a lot of people coming through looking at shows in the city space, let alone going down to the port or even yeah.
You were both here when the gallery was first established. Yes, you were.
Yes.
Yeah.
When did that actually happen? What year was that? Was it
1980, actually 1979 at the end of the year, that's when we started working on it. We received some money from the South Australian Arts Advisory Council.
How much was that?
I think for the gallery it was only about $850, but we managed to scrounge second-hand materials, and there goes the telephone. We managed to scrounge second-hand materials, and we got things from the opera company and various other places, and set the gallery up as a sort of working bee effort in a matter of about 3 weeks, I think.
The physical work was quite immense. I mean, that gallery was just full of the most incredible junk you've ever seen. It was a matter of taking load after load to the dump, and you would have never thought it would look the way it does today. The place was just really an empty shell.
But it took a fair while to get it going. We eventually decided to have the gallery ready for the 1980 festival. So this will be the 4th year that the gallery's been running.
And how successful do you think it's been?
As galleries go, I think Roundspace Gallery's been fairly successful. It's had a lot of support from other art groups in Adelaide. And in talking to people, I get a fairly good reaction from sort of other artists.
Do you think it's actually served a purpose as an alternative gallery, that possibly there's no other gallery in Adelaide that serves quite that purpose?
Oh, definitely.
I don't think there's any other gallery that serves quite that purpose. It offers an alternative, but it's also caters for people in the main art stream as well. So it gives that a variety. It's also been used as a theatre space as well. All Out Ensemble used it twice.
I'm Paul Bishop, and I'm a painter.
And how long have you been here?
I just found out it's almost exactly 2 years.
What's it been like for you to be a member of Roundspace?
It's been lovely. It's been great. I mean, I came here pretty well straight after art school, so it was just really nice carrying on working in that collective situation, I suppose. Lots of people around, and having access to shared resources. I think that was really important.
What are any negative things?
No, I don't think so. No. Sometimes I. No, I don't think so.
You've actually been on the gallery committee, haven't you?
Mhm.
Yeah, for a period of time. Could you perhaps explain what the criteria for exhibiting work in the gallery is?
Well, I suppose for a while I think we've been entertaining two schools of thought. I mean, I think we've been trying to balance two factions, not factions within the place, but just two schools of opinion. One that we should just really, it should just be very easy access, and that people, anything and everything should go up, and that we shouldn't have very set criteria. But then again, there's that has to be balanced with the view that we have established a very, very good reputation, and I think other people think that there's a great need for those standards to be kept up. So we do have a selection process. I mean, we try to weigh out those two things. We try to put on shows that are very, very good, and we also try to keep the gallery as a really easy access point to people wanting their first shows outside of that commercial gallery.
So what's the actual process that somebody goes through to get a show here?
Well, they're usually known. It ends up that someone in the collective usually knows the person from somewhere who wants the show, unless it's someone from interstate perhaps. So usually we just ask them to submit slides or to bring some work in, so that, and I know Chris and I have been trying to get that work here, or those slides here, where we can get as many people from the collective to give an opinion, so that we can just so the choice can be as broadly based as it possibly can.
And that was actually a fairly recent innovation, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was, yes. And so we're just sort of getting ready to implement all that, and now it's bye-bye Roper Street.
I'm Pam Conley. I've been a member of the Roundspace for 3 years. I draw. I also am the treasurer, which means I collect the rent money, pay any of the expenses, and any of the gallery money that comes through I also bank, just coordinate all the money. We pay $300 a month, and we share that into $33 each a month, which covers the expense of rent, but whatever extra we have goes towards paying council rates or the electricity bill that comes in, which is quite high. And we always have some reserves for any repairs or maintenance.
My name's Dennis Andre Broddick, and I'm a painter.
And how long have you actually been here?
Well, I reckon I've been here for every bit of 3 weeks and 7 hours.
Right. And what made you make the decision to actually become a member when you knew that this building was actually being sold?
Well, I thought it was a bit of too good an opportunity to miss, because I come straight out of art school, and it's a pretty crucial year, first year out working, and I sort of knew what was going on here during the years I was at art school, and I thought it was too good an opportunity to miss. There's a lot of people here working in a variety of media, and you got the gallery downstairs with always changing exhibitions, so I figured, well, hopefully it'll continue on afterwards, and it was too good to miss, and I'm really glad I did come.
And I think on a less formal level too. I mean, it's just been obvious today the way everyone sort of joked and laughed around setting up the show and sort of enjoyed everyone else's company.
Yeah.
I mean, we do all get on with each other very, very well. And I mean, it's not it doesn't get said, it doesn't get specified very often, but I think we all feel a great deal of affection for each other, and it'd be a great shame to lose that.
I'm Hussein Walamanesh, and I'm a sculptor.
And how long were you associated with Roundspace?
I was one of the members who started the Roundspace in around 77 and had the studio in Roundspace about 5 years.
So when did you actually leave?
I left in early 82 because of needing more space to work in and feeling that I needed to be working by myself, and moved out of the space, but have been very much close with the space because it became more like a family for us.
Yes. Would you like to be associated with the new Roundspace? I mean, in terms of the way that you're associated now?
Very much so, yeah, because I feel it's not only a place, especially the way Roundspace is gone, hasn't been only providing a studio space, it's provided space for people to meet, a gallery to exhibit, and it's kind of a center for people refer to and get information and so on about Adelaide art scene as a whole. And I think that has been... Get away. Sorry. And that has been really useful for all of us. And I think I would be very much involved with what will happen, or would be interested what will happen to Roundspace after this.
Thanks.
My name's Stephen Griffin, and I'm a painter and a musician. And I've been working at Roundspace for 5 years. And
What's it been like?
What's it been like? I've had mixed feelings about working here. I think that it's been good in lots of ways and bad in others. It's introduced me to lots of people I wouldn't have bothered to associate with in the past. It's made connections for me interstate with institutions that I wouldn't have sought out, like the Victorian Tapestry Workshop and Art Bank and people like that. In other ways, it's been distracting because of certain insecurities I find it very difficult to work with other people looking over my shoulder. And I feel that the environment, particularly that kind of environment where people can visit anytime they feel like and walk through your space and stand behind you while you work, I find that a little threatening, I think. So in that respect, it's prevented me from being as open within my work as I would have liked, I think.
My name is Sarah Sims, and I've been painting most of the time here, except for this last work that is three-dimensional and it's a bit different.
How long have you been associated with Roundspace?
About 3 years by now.
And what's it been like for you over here?
Oh, really good. I really enjoyed it. I was fortunate enough to have studio space that was could be a bit more private than just working in an open space, which was good for me. And yet I really appreciated coming and working with a group of people and having a place to go to and to consider my work as work. And it's really important for me. and I think it's really relevant for nearly everybody that works here.
Well, I'm Zig Moskwa and I'm a painter. I've been at Roundspace for I think 5 years, and I paint canvases, I work on murals, I do a bit of set painting, generally spread myself in that direction.
Are there any negative aspects to it?
No, not that I can think of. There's sort of the only negative aspects would relate to things like limitations with the space and with materials and money to be able to perhaps section some areas off or make it warmer in winter and cooler in summer, that sort of thing. But not in terms of nothing negative in terms of relating with people.
John Hines. I work in collage, coloured pencils, some lino block prints.
How long were you associated with Roundspace?
About 3.5 years, from late 79 to early in 83.
And what was the reason for leaving?
I left Roundspace because I was going overseas. I got a grant to go to Japan. So I had a studio elsewhere, so I moved from here to the other studio, then moved to Japan.
And what was it like for you to work at Roundspace?
Excellent, really fruitful, and also having the gallery there for our own exhibitions and for other people's input. You know, there was a constant of interchange of things, and also the fact that Roundspace was deemed to be important, or is deemed to be important in the art scene as sort of a factor, as a force, as a place where things are happening. It's nice to feel that one was involved in doing that, especially involved in getting the gallery set up. Yeah, we set up the gallery actually for a festival, so it's 4 years. It's 4 years ago for this festival, and when we had our first show, so it's sort of timely that this show should be nearly the last.
The thing is that even if we all went home and painted in our bedrooms, you know, we've got a lot of stuff that we're certainly not going to leave here, you know, communal type stuff and what is going to happen.
Yeah, we need another space just to move our gear to.
Yeah, that's right. All the lights and equipment and so on.
Put a lot of energy to the distance.
Storing the energy.
But we'll probably have to get quite organised in looking for another space, just
Yeah,
like
we're
you've
going to
been
have
doing and
to. We're going to have to realise too that the cost factor is going to be quite a jump. We're going to have to be paying double or maybe a little bit more, because this place here has been such a lifesaver for so many of us, considering the rent's so low, and now we're going out with the big wide wheel again. Yeah, we've been on Easy Street for sure.
Well, how much are they paying in the studio?
$15 a week, $150 a week.
Right, so they're each paying